Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. And yeah, the Styrian Grand Prix race review. Right, let's get into it. So a little bit of a qualifying report. It was Hamilton who put it on pole by quite a lot, I will admit. It was then Verstappen second, and Carlos Sainz in the McLaren, as you can see here. He came third in qualifying. But then we go to the race, and well, things got quite out of hand quite quickly. So let's start off. Both Ferraris crashed and retired by lap 3. I completely say that it was Leclerc at fault. The Racing Points had pretty good pace all weekend, actually. Norris had a blistering last 2 laps, and Hamilton did absolutely nothing and won the race. Right, so thank you so much for watching, Crusader. Goodbye. Oh wait, no. I'm being told that isn't all that happened. So because of that, joining me today, ladies and gentlemen, is a man who has pretty much no experience with Formula 1, but that makes him absolutely perfect to talk about what happened in the race. Please welcome, ladies and gentlemen, Owen Murray to the channel.
Hi, you stupid person. You should be watching NASCAR instead of this.
Yes, that's the perfect introduction. Thank you very much, Owen. A lot has happened, obviously, during... Well, it wasn't as exciting, I would reckon, than last race. But we'll obviously start off then with the Ferrari incident to do with pace. They're qualifying 10th and 14th after Leclerc got a grid place penalty. What do you think then? And then obviously, they had the new aero package, the new floor. What do you think? Is this a really big downturn for Ferrari? Can they recover from this? What is your perspective on their pace and their overall pace over the weekend?
They need to go through preschool, drop off the drivers at the moment, and pick up 2 brand new ones, because I think they do a better job.
Okay. We'll go then to Mercedes. A pretty dominant weekend from them again. I think the gearbox sensor issue didn't seem to be as much of a problem.
Dominant is just a understatement. He was fucking 10 seconds ahead of them. 11, whatever.
Yeah.
That's not racing, that's just fucking... Someone needs to check his engine, make sure it's in parameters.
Well, that is the problem. Ferrari have an awful deficit of power. Since America last year, when the FIA tightened up the regulations about the engines, Ferrari just seem to have all of their advantage in the engine has just gone. As we can see, a really big issue for Ferrari. And then obviously, the car is draggy, the team is saying, and all that. It is a really big issue. They are, as at the moment, I would even debate to say that they're the 5th fastest team in F1. Given that they were challenging for the World Championship for the last 3 years running, it is a serious problem for Ferrari.
This is a team that's manufacturing company made a 2-stroke engine that was overly powerful. Can they not just come up with, what is the parameters, 3 litres, 3.5?
It's a V6 turbo hybrid, so I'm not 100% sure about the liter, but the liter. I'm sure we can Google it. Brilliant, obviously editing, as you can see.
Can they not just think about something? If you think about it, the engines have gone up and gone down in literage they're allowed to have. Can they not look at previous designs and then incorporate the hybrid version, the hybrid parts into it?
Well, that is something that they are considering currently with the rule changes for 2022. It was meant to be next year, but obviously due to COVID-19, they've had to push it back. So, everybody, all the drivers are looking back, they're going, V12s, V10s, maybe even just V8s. The sound out of them was an awful lot better. Fans want, at the end of the day, they want good looking and good sounding cars and good racing. That doesn't sound particularly hard to achieve, but in a sport where we have, this is the pinnacle of motorsport. Obviously, when 2022 comes along, the field's going to have to bunch up an awful lot, and hopefully it will. But that's what F1 have been campaigning ever since the turbo hybrid era, since 2014 actually happened. It's been Mercedes dominance for, the past 6 years now. All right, so well then next up then we'll talk about Renault. A mixed weekend for them, to be honest with you. Daniel Ricciardo having a massive crash in FP2. He actually bruised his knee off of the steering column. But yeah, a very disappointing weekend overall for Renault. But the issues didn't stop there, Owen, did they?
No, Ocon in his 28th lap decided to retire because of cooling issues. But it was only 20 degrees air
Yeah,
temperature, so it's a bit weird.
yeah, that is actually quite interesting because last week we had Daniel Ricciardo retiring of the same problem. Now it was obviously a lot hotter last week, but yeah, that is food for thought. Is there a chronic problem with Renault with the design of their car with the cooling issues? Is this something to maybe keep in mind for next weekend? But yeah,
Probably is, because like if you're having cooling issues, that's like one of the most important things in the car to keep it cool. That's how engine works. It can't overheat. It needs to be cold. So if you have something wrong with that, you're kind of a bit like, how many millions have been spent on these cars to work out if they'll work or not, and
well,
you can't even get the cooling right.
that is fair because an engine costs €1 million. Just one single ICE unit. We'll move on then. We've a little bit of Renault news later on, but actually, I just want to talk briefly about two more rounds that have been put in. We have a double header at Sochi confirmed, but before that, Ferrari's 1,000th race will be held at their own private track, Mugello, which is very, very good news for them. I mean, in a season that may not be their best, I think that is going to be a really big milestone. What is your thoughts on Mugello? I know you're not really familiar with the track, but is that going to be something
They're
that's
going to bend the rules so they make sure they win.
that is fair. I mean,
They're
they
going
have
to win by crook or by hook.
Leo
They're going
Varadkar
to
reference.
put tar on their. They're going to put their tar on the wheels so it goes stickier to the ground. Just flies. They're going to like cover everyone else's pit in oil. Just a small. Yeah, they're going to fucking cheat badly. They're Italian. And
Right.
then halfway through, they're going to like realise they did something wrong that they did in World War II. Just back out of it.
Great. So if the chronic racism in this video won't get us banned, it will be the World War II reference. Thank you very much. Let's now move on. We'll talk about that Renault situation really quick because they have put Racing Points under protest due to the Racing Point, or the tracing point, as I say, with the Mercedes parts. Now, this is a developing story. It came out last night. Obviously, it's still a very interesting story. It's still developing. The FIA went to the Racing Point factory. They went to the Mercedes factory. They compared the drawings. They said that they were happy, but obviously Renault. I mean, they wouldn't do this just because they felt a little bit hard done by in the race. They obviously have found something that they genuinely think could potentially rule out that car. Now, the implications for this could be massive, but I mean, the actual rules are quite complex, especially the third one that Renault have marked out, which is that you can't actually buy a certain amount of parts, things to do with the aero parts, off of another competitor. Now, we saw Haas do this with Dallara. Now, Dallara are not in Formula 1, but allegedly it is supposed that Racing Point have bought these parts off of Mercedes. So what is your thoughts on this? Do you think this will play out? Could Racing Point end up not having to race in 2020?
It could, but I think the money they paid off the inspector should do its job. But aside from that, it's like, why is Renault doing this? Why? Do they get anything out of doing this except from like just? They don't have any gripe with them, do they?
Well, no, they've no business with them, but I mean, at the end of the day, all you want is a fair sport. So I mean, this could potentially mean that Racing Point will have to either.
So what are they saying? Are they saying that the Mercedes cars aren't fair?
No, so
take inspiration from them.
Yeah, you can take inspiration from them, but you can't directly copy or you can't directly use.
I'm pointing out that does Renault then mean if you have a car like Mercedes, it's not fair, because that would indicate then that Mercedes cars aren't fair in the first place. So you should take issue with Mercedes having an overpowered car for the races. That's how I nearly see it.
Yeah, I mean that is a fair. It's a fair
Are they
point.
worried about having another competitive that has such a good car they won't be able to keep up?
At the end, well, I mean that is definitely something that could happen. And as I said before, maybe this isn't really Renault being pitiful of themselves for doing poorly in the race or being held done by in the race, but in a really tight midfield, this could prove very costly to not just Racing Point, but to the people around them, and actually maybe even wider Mercedes, because you could see if Racing Point are prosecuted, that Mercedes could actually get a fine for this as well, for complying with Racing Point.
Yeah.
Right, so really quickly, we're going to talk about a very controversial topic, which we're actually looking at right now, which is Lewis Hamilton taking the knee, and I think about 14 drivers out of the 60 or the 20 taking the knee, but 6 drivers not, including both of I think Charles Leclerc and a few of the other drivers as well. There's very different kind of viewpoint on this topic. Personally, I think that you shouldn't really be forced to take the knee. You should try and just eliminate racism in your daily life. But Lewis Hamilton, that's not enough for him. Really quickly, Owen, what are your thoughts on this?
As you said, it's your own preference. If you want to do it, you can. It's not. It might bring a light to the fact there's racing in the world, but it's not going to actually really do much for it. If you want to help races, you go out and you either fundraise for a charity like that or whatever. You don't. Yeah, I don't really see a point in doing it. It's kind of the same as people on like social media putting a green, putting Black Lives Matter on.
Fair enough. We're going to talk about Norris now. He had a slight rib cage problem with under braking, but a fantastic race too.
Max fucking Lando. That's his new name. Mad Max Lando.
Brilliant, man.
Rib cage injury. He goes from 11th. I think he was 11th, like 20th lap or around then, and then he fucking goes through the field and manages to come up 5th. Because just Perez, Albon, Stroll, whatever the hell, just stupid driving, let him go past. And I'm pretty sure his rib cage injury was affecting his braking, I'm pretty sure I heard. So, what a driver.
Oh yeah, I mean he's definitely. I mean, if he gets into the right car, he will definitely be a future world champion. He's impressing absolutely everyone. And I mean, the last week he got a podium as well, so an incredible drive by him. Really quickly, we'll talk about Williams as well. Until George Russell, he overtook a car, but he binned it in the gravel, and really that kind of ruined his race. But I mean, that was a very good pace shown by the Williams.
Yeah, they were pretty fast around. But they did absolutely nothing with the pace to manage to get. It was just woeful. They got nowhere near the top 3, even 5. So, disappointing.
Yeah. Very disappointing. Well, I think the last kind of topic we're going to talk about is the battle between Max Verstappen and Valtteri Bottas. Now, Verstappen did actually have a few problems with his front wing, but actually Valtteri Bottas had damaged his deflector, which was quite interesting. It didn't really affect his pace too much, but maybe a really good fight spoiled a little bit.
That was brilliant, and I don't think it would have happened if Verstappen hadn't damaged his wing or front wing. That was just wheel to wheel, every corner, overtaking, re-overtaking. The digital board couldn't even keep up with it each time they overtook each other. That was one of the most interesting things out of the race.
All right, well, that is it for us today.
By this point.
Alright, that is it for us today. Thank you so much for watching. We will be back on Thursday with the Hungarian race preview. But until then, guys, thank you so much for watching. We will see you later. Goodbye.
Au revoir.
Sometimes I feel so deaf. I'm calling on you cause I can't do it myself. Like it's going to make up for the years and tears. Mercedes rear through this right today.